Hey, reckoners, and welcome back. Today's indie game is the Chameleon Creator. Let me read from their itch.io page. The Chameleon Creator is a visual novel about the nature of stories and the different ways they can affect our world. The novel follows the adventures of young Elora Lamplight, but there might be a focus on characters down the road. The visual novel is intended to be about 6 chapters long, of varying lengths. The first chapter is available right now, with the other chapters coming later on in the year. Maybe. All the chapters plan to be free, so the only thing you're gonna be giving up is your time, and potentially faith in humanity. So hopefully, I don't waste it. This specific, little more thing scrolling down, Princess Elora Lamplight wakes up to another wonderful day in her kingdom of Solstoria. However, today is not just any ordinary day. It happens to be her 14th birthday, despite her family's attempts to hide the fact. Read the story of the curious princess who tries to discover what surprises are waiting for her on her special day. There are 2 endings, as well as some minor spooks and loud noises, which sounds terrible, because I don't want either of those things, but I like everything else I've heard about this game, just from that reading. I like the art, so we can't access the library yet. Let's just friggin' start. Bookmarks seem useful too. I have no idea how long this is, but I really like this style of game, minus the spooks. I feel like I should turn the volume way the heck down. I don't want any spooks. That'll be fine. Once upon a time, in a land far, far away, the young princess starts to stir, ready to begin her day. In the kingdom of the unsetting sun, the eternal light is divine. But for this simple old man, his daughter is the only sunshine. Dad! Yes?
How many times do I have to tell you to stop fairy telling my stories? Don't you think I'm getting too old for that?
It's too fast for me to read, almost. That guy's like hat and clogs. The young girl, laying on the bed, unenthusiastically opened her eyes, being greeted by a sight she's gotten quite familiar with. The light that illuminated the entire room burned brightly, causing her to immediately regret her decision. But after a few seconds, she was able to recover. It was difficult for her to sleep in such a bright room at first, but her quick recovery was proof that she was getting used to it. And besides, there wasn't anything that could be a bigger eyesore than the person standing right at her door. Ha! Sorry, sunshine, but when you're not even a third of my age, you don't even know the meaning of old. Was it obvious that I couldn't stop thinking about that story we read last night? I spent the morning trying to come up with a rhyme that captured the magic of The Adventures of Burger Bear, and I think I did a pretty darn good job. The moment he stepped into her room, the atmosphere drastically changed. Anyone who's been around him could tell you the air of royalty he gives off with his presence. Oh yeah, that's royalty, if you know what I'm talking about. Yet, from his appearance, and from the moment he opens his mouth, the grandeur illusions of him are usually shattered. Once the atmosphere realized this as well, it returned back to its normal state.
Dad, doesn't the king of Solstoria have more important things to do in the morning than bust out cheesy grade school level rhymes?
Nothing is more important than you, sunshine! Too fast! The king held his tongue after realizing what he had just said, but he let out an internal sigh of relief since his daughter didn't seem to catch it. I didn't catch it either! Besides, you make it sound like I spent all morning thinking of those 45 words, and that's just the furthest thing from the truth. I only spent most of the morning this time, and I have a witness to back me up for once too. He suddenly threw his arm up and pointed to the roof, and then dramatically lowered it until he was now pointing at the room's entrance. Oh, whoa, that's... I hope those are tears. If those are pupils, that's very unfortunate. After a brief moment of hesitation, the supposed witness slowly stepped into the room, balancing a fancy silver platter with both of her hands.
Oh gosh, oh man. Princess, please pardon the intrusion. I don't mean to invade your privacy, but your father unknowingly insisted I come and be with him.
She let out a yelp that made the whole room jump, but no one reached the amount of air she did. When she landed, she bowed and apologized to the king, spewing an indecipherable language that vaguely resembled English. Haha, no worries. I told you that there was no need to be so stiff around us. Canary.
I'm sorry, my king. I tried really hard to see his visit. Like the analogy you told me.
On the way up here, I told myself again and again that this was just like talking to a visit. Just like taking a visit to my grandmother's house. But the moment I stepped through that door, a full moon invaded my brain, and the cute little grandma in my head turned into a scary werewolf. Huh. Well, I'm glad my kid didn't inherit the hairy part of my genes, because you just gave me a pretty scary mental image right there. If Canary weren't holding the silver platter, she would have thrown her hands up and covered her mouth in shock immediately. But thanks to her servant duties, Canary's mouth slowly dropped at the realization that she had just called the princess a hairy werewolf, and she couldn't hide it. The young girl clicked her tongue, annoyed that she didn't have anything within reach to try and toss in there for some easy points. Don't worry so much about it, Canary. My kid won't eat you. But if she doesn't eat something soon, things really are going to get hairy around here. The king gave Canary a little pat on the shoulder, snapping her out of her daze. What's that shake for?
Oh gosh, oh man, I'm sorry, Princess Elora. I didn't mean to call you a hairy werewolf.
Canary set the bed tray and silver platter across Elora's lap, lifting the cover and revealing the dish to her master once she made sure everything was stable. Steam. Ooh. Ooh, that looks good. Eating with Elora. Too fast! Stop scrolling so fast! God dang it, I not only can't read this out loud, I cannot even read that internally fast enough. It's too fast! Too fast, game! Is this in the preferences? I mean, I didn't touch the preferences. Apparently she's flipping out over eating. I'm assuming. I think it's just describing the things we're eating. I can't really tell. Something about drool. Something about consume this, tasty. Ah, man, I feel like I'm missing a joke. That would have been funny if I could have read it. Maybe? Hopefully? I guess I ate it. Okay.
Princess. Fisher, there's no reason to apologize. After all, there's no bigger honor than getting a visit from the infamous executioner herself. Oh, Princess, you and your father are just too kind to me.
These voices are too similar.
I really wish you'd stop calling me that, though.
Haha, alright, Canary. Would it be too much trouble to keep my kid company for a bit?
It wouldn't be a problem at all, my king.
Thanks, I'd love to join you guys, but despite what someone thinks, I do have some kingly duties to attend to. And, you know, scary Cordelia gets when I don't do those. The king walked up to his daughter, lifted her up her bangs, and gave her a kiss on the forehead. Alright, see you, sunshine. After playfully wiping away the ketchup stains from her cheeks, he turned his back and headed towards the door. He paused next to Canary, who bowed to bid her king farewell, but straightened herself once she realized the king wasn't ready to leave quite yet. The king locked eyes with her for a second, let out a sigh, and placed his hand on her shoulder once more. Please take care of her. All right. Slam. The moment the king left the room, the mistaken tension that accompanied him returned. However, the tense atmosphere between the two girls in the room is far more appropriate in comparison. You wouldn't have been able to tell by looking at Elora, who is focused on consuming the omelet until there's nothing but bits and ketchup left, but you could see it on Canary's face, as bright as day. She wouldn't stop fidgeting, her fingers were constantly twirling, and she tried to avoid contact with the only other person in the room, despite the princess not taking her eyes off her meal even once.
Hey, Canary! Yes, Princess, oh gosh, oh man, how may I be of service? So, my dad said something about my special day. I know you know about it. What's he hiding from me this time? I actually have no idea what you're talking about. Wow, you and my dad are really bad at keeping secrets.
Elora moved and finished breakfast, and moved the finished breakfast tray off her lap, and hopped out of bed. Are these options? These are bookmarks. I don't think I can do options from here. She walked over to her room's dresser and unpinned the calendar that was hanging on the wall above it. After obtaining the evidence she needed, she practically ran up to Canary and parked the calendar just inches away from her nose, pointing at today's date, March 20th.
I'm guessing this secret was something to do with my birthday, right?
Oh, is it truly your birthday, Princess? Well, this is certainly news to me. I'm not sure why that makes you think your father's hiding something from you, though.
Because I didn't inherit my dad's terrible memory either. About a week ago, Elora's birthday was written on today's date in my dad's handwriting. 2 days ago, the reminder was gone. Someone spread some white out all over the date, but they put a little too much and made the date March 2nd. And just yesterday, the perpetrator realized the mistake and wrote the 0 back in with a marker, which was once again my dad's handwriting. So, my dear Canary, this is my conclusion. My dad wrote down my birthday on my calendar because he thinks my memory's as bad as his, but then decided to erase it in hopes that I didn't notice it. Why, you ask? Because he decided that he wanted to throw a surprise party for me. So did I hit the bullseye? Ha! This level of reasoning is possible for Elora Lamplight. What do you think, Canary? You ready to spill the beans yet, or what?
Canary let out a long, distressed groan, torn between the wishes of her two masters. Elora grabbed her hand and pulled her along towards her bed, motioning for Canary to sit with her. Canary tried her hardest to resist, but Elora wouldn't take no for an answer, and pulled her down to her level.
Canary, if you don't tell me, I might tell all the other servants just how much you love being called the executioner. Or perhaps I'll come up with something even worse. The point is, spit it out already, girl!
Okay. Just please keep that nickname to yourself. If the other servants found out about it, I'd never hear the end of it.
While Canary collected herself from all the verbal abuse, Elora began rocking back and forth in anticipation for the Canary confession.
Well, you pretty much did hit the bullseye. Your father is planning a surprise birthday party for you.
Boring! I figured out that much, so skip that part and give me some actual deets. The who, the what, where, when, and why kind of deets.
Oh, well, I don't know if I have an answer for all these, though I do know he's planning on throwing the party in the recreational hall.
The recreational hall, huh? So I'm guessing you're the only servant who's in on this thing.
Well, I've heard plenty of servants talk about it, but I don't think the king meant to tell anyone other than me. Most of the servants found out about it by themselves, but they've been playing along out of respect. We even agreed to spend our leisure outside of the recreational hall for today, so we don't accidentally run into his super sneaky surprise.
Well, I guess I should have figured, since that really is something. Wait, hold on, did you just say you're the only one he meant to tell? What's that supposed to mean?
Canary's mouth dropped open once again after she realized what she had let slip, but her free hands were able to cover it in time. This disappointed Elora greatly, since she could have tossed some of the omelet bits in there.
Oh, no. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to say that. You weren't supposed to know that part, and it sounded like I was bragging about it, too. Oh, gosh. Oh, man. I didn't deserve to work in this castle anymore.
Sorry, Canary, but you aren't allowed to leave until I squeeze every last drop out of you. There's no way I'd be able to last 5 minutes without knowing why my dad shared a secret with the only person worse than him at keeping secrets.
Princess, do I really have to? It's just so awkward.
Well, you don't have to, just like I don't have to keep quiet about the gnarly stuff you keep in your sock drawer.
I do not have anything gnarly in my sock drawer.
Your father, about a couple weeks ago, he asked me to teach him how to cook.
Huh?
Yeah, I was pretty confused when he first asked me too. When I was spending my leisure out in the castle woods picking ingredients, the king showed up out of nowhere, and suddenly that I nearly smacked the king of Solstaria. Once he got me to calm down, he told me he was a big fan of my cooking, and took everything I had to stop my right hook from swinging. What?
Well, he certainly isn't wrong about that. You're a really darn good cook.
I really don't think so, especially compared to the real chefs that work here. But your father said that out of all the dishes he eats during his meals, it was always the egg-themed ones that tasted the best. After asking around, he eventually found out that they were all dishes I made. He was pretty surprised to find out that the person who made these dishes wasn't even a chef, but just a maid who was cooking for fun.
Huh, well, if there's one thing I didn't inherit from my dad, it's his spot-on taste of food. There's no way he'd lie when it comes to his stomach.
Yes, I know how sincere the king is, but I just couldn't believe what I was hearing. He said he'd always wanted to meet the creator of his favorite dishes, but he was just too shy to talk to me in person. I seriously thought I couldn't get any more unbelievable, but your father proved me wrong with what he said next. He said he finally worked up the courage to talk to me because he wanted to know if I would teach him how to cook. At the very least, he wanted to learn the basics before your birthday, so he could make a cake for you.
So that's how you became the inside party plan man, huh? So, did you actually teach my dad how to cook then?
Bake. Your father said he wanted to cook a cake for you at first, so we had to spend the first day making sure he understood the difference between them. But after that, I indeed started teaching him how to bake a cake.
I see. Heh. So that's what Dad's been up to, huh? Knowing him, the cake is going to be the grand centerpiece of his birthday party surprise. Alright, Canary, that's all I needed to know. Thanks for filling me in.
Elora clapped her hands as if snapping her maid out of a magic spell.
Forgive me, my king, for I have failed to keep our secret a secret. I hacked up big time.
Don't worry too much, Canary. I'll make sure Dad won't find about your betrayal, and even if he does, I'll make sure he doesn't get depressed about it.
I wish you didn't word it like that, but I guess I really did betray his trust. Oh gosh, oh man.
With her interrogation finished, Elora hopped out of her bed and walked over to her dresser to pin her calendar back up. Meanwhile, Canary gathered all the tableware Elora used onto the bed tray and lifted herself up from the bed as well.
Well, I think I've committed enough sins for today, Princess. Please enjoy the rest of your birthday.
Thanks again, Canary. Don't be a stranger, and come chat with me more often.
I'll try my best. One last thing, Princess. Truth be told, I had the honor of judging your father's cake after he finished it. The results left a lot to be desired, but I just didn't have it in my heart to tell him that. Still, he worked really hard on the cake, and I guess what I'm trying to say is, please go easy on him, won't you?
No way! If it stinks, it stinks. No sugarcoating it. I mean, if he doesn't get hit with that cold, hard truth, then he's never gonna improve, right?
Princess. Well, that's fine. That's just the kind of person you are, after all. Well, if you'll excuse me, Princess.
Poof! What's going to have her thinking? Now being surrounded by absolute silence for the first time since waking up, Elora took a brief moment to enjoy it, before walking over to her room's balcony in order to start her morning proper. I get it, morning, because she woke up so late, I presume. It was always beautiful, no matter how many times she looked at it. Now this one's staying around too long. This is bizarre. How do they calculate how long to display the text for? I wish it had shown the view that she sees, because I have a hard time believing her castle's way removed from the town and high up. What waited for Elora when she stepped out onto the balcony was a view of the Solstoria Kingdom. Known far and wide as the Kingdom of the Unsetting Sun, there hasn't been a single second since its creation where the land wasn't basking in the sun's light. That sounds terrible. I'm not a farmer, but I'm pretty sure that would wreak agricultural havoc. Especially on the animals. Also, I love how kingdoms mean like towns. And Elora couldn't ask for a better kingdom to rule over. It was a kingdom that was made for her. It was a kingdom that belonged to her. Her castle wasn't too far away from the kingdom itself, but it was small enough to where she can see the entirety of it from her balcony. Like the castle, the majority of the kingdom was a strange fusion between modern and medieval. It was contradictory, but it worked together pretty well. There was only one thing that stuck out like a sore thumb, even to the kingdom's princess. At the very center of the kingdom, a tower rose above all other buildings in Solstoria. Its height was unfathomable. It looked as if it was tall enough to touch the sun itself. Neither medieval or modern, it was almost unsettling how out of place this tower seemed. It was almost alien. Here's the hook I want. But despite finding it odd, this was just another irreplaceable piece of the kingdom that made it hers.
So Dad tried baking something, huh? I'm sure the guys down there would beat each other up for a chance to try out something Dad baked, even if it tasted terrible. Haha, I guess I'm really a lucky girl. What a wonderful opportunity I've been given. Not only do I have a chance to eat the king's homemade cake, I'm having it made specifically for me, too. And to think this lucky young girl plans to repay this honor by telling her dad his present stinks. Ha ha! She really is her dad's daughter, my butt.
Elora leaned onto the balcony railing, squinting her eyes as she tried to catch a glimpse of the many residents who've repeated that line to her more times than she can count. While she's able to see even the kingdom's residents from her view, there wasn't too much activity happening that caught her interest.
Guess it's too early for any excitement. How boring.
Aha, our first choice. I say, let's keep looking. I want to see something interesting. After deciding to look down upon her kingdom for a bit longer, something eventually caught her interest. Near the very outskirts of town, Elora spotted a figure she didn't really recognize. The population was small enough that Elora has memorized every single person who lives in her kingdom, or she just had a really good memory. But no matter how hard she squinted, she couldn't pinpoint anything recognizable on the figure shifting outside her town.
Forget about it.
Keep your eyes on that shifter. Never once taking her eyes off the shifter, Elora ran through her memory bank at blinding speed. Unfortunately, no matter how hard and thorough she ran, she couldn't put a name to a face, and it bothered her to no end. She was in fact thinking so hard that her toes began to curl from within her slippers, which she usually takes as a sign that she's getting way too invested in something.
Maybe my memory isn't what it used to be, or maybe my eyes are just getting bad. Perhaps I should stop reading the books in the light.
While Elora was trying to decide which of her body parts to blame, she hopped up onto the railing, balancing herself on her hands and stomach, and stretched her neck out as far as she could. Perhaps she was trying to get as close a look as possible. Perhaps she was trying to rock her brain back and forth in hopes that it would jog her memory. Or perhaps she just really wanted to impersonate a seesaw for some reason. Regardless, by the time she properly balanced herself to do something, the shifter on the outskirts of town was no longer in her sights.
Seriously?
Her eyes darted all the way over the kingdom, but she couldn't spot the figure anywhere. She took her eyes of it for a second, and now it was almost like it was never there. Out of childish frustration, Elora gave up on her seesaw impersonation and began to impersonate a very ferocious monkey instead. Boom! As she was blowing off steam on the balcony's edge, her keen eyes managed to catch a glimpse of something else. This time in the castle garden below. I haven't learned my lesson. Elora had to stare at it for a good long while to make sure she wasn't imagining it. But she was 100% certain now. From within one of the garden's flower bushes, there was something shiny, letting off some faint sparkles. Elora couldn't even make out the shape of whatever it was from underneath of the shrub, but at the very least, it looked like it was something that wasn't going anywhere anytime soon. Wanting to make sure, Elora took off one of her bed slippers and pitched it straight into the flower bush, making a neat, perfect slipper-shaped hole in the process. I don't see a hole. Even with such a finely shaped hole in the bush, Elora still wasn't able to see what the shiny was. However, the slipper she tossed in there seemed to have somehow enhanced the sparkle power of whatever was in there, because it was shining brighter and more frequently than ever. She couldn't look away. It was almost hypnotic. It was a graveyard smash! And for some reason, she was sure the shiny thing was wiggling its hips at her. She couldn't actually see the shiny. She didn't know if it was material or living, nor did she know if whatever it was even had hips. She just had a strong feeling there was some hardcore hip wiggling going on within that bush. Context. And for some unexplainable reason, she wanted to be a part of it. Wiggle your way down there, baby. Elora's plan was incredibly simple and genius-sounding when she recited it in her head. Hop from her balcony over to the conveniently placed tree with the conveniently human-sized branches next to it. Shimmy on down to the bush. Find out what awesome thing is hiding in the bush and potentially wiggle hips with it. Shimmy back up the tree and victoriously hop back to the balcony. There was 1,000 easier ways to do this, but Elora's curiosity defied all logic. While she wasn't sure if the shiny in the bush was sentient, she didn't want to take the chance after losing sight of the shifter. If she tried to get to the garden the normal way, whatever was in the bush could easily flee by then, or even self-destruct. She wanted to get down there as fast as possible, and while risky, this was the quickest way to do it. It could have been another 8,192 days before she gets another chance like this again, if even ever. This was the chance of a lifetime. There's no way she can turn back from this, right? No way. Begin Operation Secure the Shiny. She took off her other slipper and heaved herself up onto the balcony railing. Her breathing started to get rugged with nervousness, and her toes began to curl uncontrollably. Now that she was actually up here, the tree seemed further away than it initially did, but it was too late to turn back now. While she never actually jumped from a balcony to a conveniently placed tree with conveniently human-sized branches before, it couldn't be that hard, right? Her master plans were always foolproof, so this one shouldn't be any different, right? Wrong. Unfortunately, she was wrong. The moment she attempted to take the jump, she instantly lost her footing. Thanks to being nervous, her sweaty hands did little to recover from her slip. Thanks to the momentum from her attempted jump, her entire body flipped over once she lost her footing, and she soon found gravity taking her down head first. Time froze for the princess. It took her a while to realize she was falling. Once it dawned upon her, for a brief moment, she considered just accepting her fate. She brought this on herself. There was no one else to blame for this but herself, so she should just suffer the consequences. This is what she told herself to accept. But she refused. When time resumed for Elora, she found her whole world was turned upside down. Quite literally, that's crazy. How is it that she was defying gravity right now? She could already feel answer. However, she lifted her neck up with what little strength she had in order to see it with her own eyes. But even when she saw it, it didn't matter anymore. It didn't get any more believable. The only thing keeping her from falling were her curled toes. They were curled around the outer end of the balcony, using every ounce of strength from the princess to hold up her entire body. How was this even possible? She's heard about the wonders of adrenaline, but how it can enhance a human's capabilities when they're put in a dangerous situation. But is that really the correct explanation for this? Were toes even capable of adrenalinizing? It was a possibility the princess considered, but in the back of her mind, she knew the far more likely reason for this scenario. A reason she's been investing in for her entire life. It was all thanks to toeconomics. For as long as she's known them, for as long as she's called them her toes, she's been forging a bond with them that's near impossible to break. All for this very moment. Every time she chose to use a chair, instead of tiptoeing when there was something she couldn't reach. Every time she spared them the agony of the prison known as socks. At one time, she decided to not sign up for ballerina lessons. The fact that she likes burritos more than tacos. Every single moment she's invested into her toes' good graces have now finally come back as pure profit. She was worried that her toe stocks would have dropped after she started neglecting them for her books, but this scenario proved that her bond with her toes potentially go deeper than just simple tokenomics. Maybe it was all the blood rushing to her head, but she started to believe that her toes even considered her their friend, and their feeling was mutual? Please take this time to imagine Elora having a sappy friendship flashback about her toes. Oh, that one fell asleep. Usually this one falls asleep for me. Yeah, it's this guy. You've made the toes very happy.
You guys are seriously the best. I can't believe it, even after I've neglected you guys for dumb books for this long, you've still chosen to save my life. I feel like a really big jerk. I hope you guys can find it in your toenails to forgive me. Yeah, because from now on, it's toes before prose, baby. I mean, who needs fiction when the reality is you've got the coolest toes ever? The sky is the limit. The possibilities are endless. Just imagine all the cool things we can accomplish with the power of our friendship.
Unstoppable.
Well, I can't think of anything right now, but once we get out of this mess, I'm sure we'll be able to think about some things. Wait, how are we going to get out of this mess?
I should have gone the sad-faced toes.
Princess, are you alright? I thought I heard some whooping and hollering coming from your room. Some very upside-down sounding whooping and hollering.
Oh, Canary! Can you come over here and help me, please?
Princess? Oh gosh, oh man, what the heck are you doing?
Well, I mean, you would probably die of boredom before I do if I told you the super long story of why I'm like this.
How are her toes up on the ceiling, though? It doesn't make any sense. Her toes should be down here. I guess maybe she's on the railing and she flips with the slipperiness. I don't know.
I can also tell you that I'm just hanging out. I could ask if you wanted to join me, and then we can laugh at my bad pun together. And don't even get me started on the endless amount of toe puns I've got up my sleeve. But honestly, I'd just like you to help me get back up right now. My toes are getting tired, my head hurts, and my stomach is really not agreeing with that omelet I ate.
Right. I'll go get your father and I'll get you up. I'll get the first of the servants. I'll get the rest of the castle. Just please wait right here, princess, and I'll be right back with some help.
Pew! Zew!
Wait, don't leave. Can't you just lift me up by myself? I'm not that heavy, am I?
Oh, right. I almost forgot. Princess, I hope you don't mind me shutting the balcony door while I'm out getting help. It's just too windy outside. I don't want any bugs getting inside your room. Okay, hang in there. I'll be right back real soon.
Great. This is a long arc, considering the other options I could have pursued. Through the power of tokenomics, Elora was able to forge an unbreakable bond of friendship with her toes. Through the power of friendship, Elora's toes were able to hang on to the edge of the balcony for this long. But even the power of friendship has its limits. Say it ain't so. And with the impact of the closing balcony door, sending a sudden shockwave directly at the already struggling toes, Elora knew that their limit has finally been reached. Geronimo. Nice, like a boss. But who's in there wiggling them hips? Who? Did I click? I'll click. No? I sank into the bushes, I guess. That's what was happening. I sank into the bushes. By the time Canary arrived with some help, the princess was no longer hanging on the balcony. There'd be a me-shaped hole, though, wouldn't there? Like a slipper-shaped hole, but a me-shaped hole. The entire castle was turned upside down, but the princess was nowhere to be found. At first, the king thought his daughter was just very good at hide-and-seek, and assumed she would come out of hiding once she got bored. But days passed, and the princess was still missing. The entire kingdom was in disarray at the sudden disappearance of their princess, but none more so than her father. Many people gave up on her after a week passed, but the king and Canary spent every moment they had searching for any clue to her whereabouts. Eventually, the king and Canary found a single clue, Elora's fallen slipper, which was laying within the lower bush beneath her balcony. It brought the two of them a brief glimmer of hope, but it was sadly short-lived. The slipper provided no other clue to the princess's whereabouts. The only thing it provided was the strong, strange sense of eggs. This was so disheartening to the king and Canary that they too eventually gave up hope. And then it simply ended. On her 14th birthday, Elora Lamplight hung from a balcony by her toes, fell into a bush, and disappeared without a trace. That is the only memory anyone has of her now. Well, I'm going to assume that was not the best course of action / ending we could have encountered, and I apologize for my poor decision-making skills, but I chose a branch, and I committed. Or maybe we're not done yet. Well, that was certainly something. Who's talking? And thus the story ended. But was it the ending you wanted? That's a rhetorical question, by the way, because no one would want an ending like that. Look, can we just forget that ever happened? Let's just start over from the beginning and read through this story, the story, the proper way. Sorry, that was unintentional, but yeah, the power of friendship is nice and all, but there are way less interesting stories out there that give off the same message. So let's just forget I clicked. That was my mistake. I clicked too early. I'm assuming it's going to restart, though. Yay? Nay? Yay, nay, yay, nay? Well, the timing on this game is very bizarre. I'm liking the stories. It's pretty cool. Oh, I had to click. So now I have to click. Inconsistency. So let's just forget about this and chalk it up to what it really was. A total mess. I like that. A total disaster. A total mistake. It was no mistake. It was intentional on my part. Thank you very much. Okay, those were all intentional this time. Sorry, I'm not really helping, am I? No, you're not. Do I click now? I'm going to click constantly. I'm going to click every few seconds until something happens. I don't know what to think anymore. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to cut the episode off here. That, basically, I'm probably, depending upon length, I'm just going to do, each episode's going to be an ending. We'll see, some will be short, some will be long, probably. I don't know. I did notice the fast forward tool, so we will be skipping redundant stories, skipping to the important decision parts. But that was part 1. I have no idea what sort of other stories I expect, because I feel like, oh man, that's just, there are 2 decisions I made, and things went off the rails hard. So, I'm very curious to see more. Hopefully you guys are too. I will see you in the next part. Signature catchphrase.